Kneel, wipe it. That's your lane. The champagne flutes rattle. Chase Whitlock doesn't wait for an answer. He tilts his wrist and lets a full glass topple, a cold sheet of gold splashing across the floor, across Ava's shoes, dark uniform, apron strings. Laughter snaps like dry twigs. A phone lifts for a quick shot. Another glass clinks. A chorus of smug. Not the carpet, Chase says. Use your hands. That's what they're for. Ava steadies the tray on her forearm. One glass wobbles. Her fingers hook the stem and lock it. Breath in, breath held, jaw tight, no blink. Siri. Don't ma'am sir me, he cuts in. Listen when I'm speaking. He points down. Now. Fiona Whitlock's bracelets whisper as she raises a brow. Smile, dear. Guests are watching. The smile on her face is polished steel. Ava reaches for a linen napkin. Chase steps on it. Hands, he repeats. Show some effort. A hush spreads, not kind, just eager. It wants spectacle. Richard Whitlock's gaze skims over the mess, then over Ava. Dismissal, brief as a blink. Handle it, son, he murmurs. Not a rebuke, a green light. Ava's knuckles pale around the tray's lip. She crouches, not kneeling yet. The wet soaks the hem of her pants. Cold bites at her skin. The tray lifts higher, balanced and immaculate. She presses the heel of her hand into the spill and drags. Slow, clean, making order out of spite. Chase huffs. You're welcome, he says to the circle. A seminar in standards. A guest in a tux chuckles. Housekeeping with flair. Don't scold, another adds. She's learning. Ava's breath scrapes the back of her throat. She places an empty flute on the tray, silent, precise. She reaches again, palm to floor. The fizz crackles under her skin. Her spine stays straight. Lower, Chase says. He crouches to meet her eye and then speaks past her, to his friends. You know what drives me crazy? Attitude in an apron. She's got that look, someone whispers. Tone, Fiona snaps, not to her son, but to Ava. You're letting it show. Ava's tongue presses against her molar. Pain stings. Focus sharpens. She wipes another circle. The floor shines. Her sleeve clings. She doesn't flinch. Napkin, an older gentleman offers, stepping forward, arm extended. Chase blocks him with a careless shoulder. It's handled. It isn't, the man says softer now. Let her... Sir, Chase slices in, eyes never leaving Ava. Help has methods. We're witnessing them. Laughter again, thin, mean. Ava stacks the damp napkin she managed to snag. She folds it with square corners, a small, stubborn geometry. The tray stays steady. The last bubbles die. Stand, Chase orders suddenly. Present. Ava rises, shoulders back, chin level. The room expects trembles. It gets balanced. Turn your hands, he says. Let's see. Soap or shortage? Chase, Richard warns, but there's no weight in it. Fiona's gaze sweeps Ava's hairline. Neat enough, she decides, and then to a friend, it's the discipline that sets a home apart. Ava's chest tightens, then releases. She places a fresh flute on a side table. The click is exact. She does not swallow words, she stores them. Chase plucks a bottle from a server behind her, yanks the cork, spills a thin ribbon onto the rim. He holds the neck above Ava's hands. Steady? She doesn't move. He tilts. A thread of champagne kisses her wrist and breaks. Another phone rises. A smirk rides the edges of the circle. The bottle hovers like a dare. Ava shifts the tray half an inch. Balanced. The flute doesn't quiver. Good girl, Chase says. The word cuts. Her jaw clamps. Teeth ache. She doesn't give him the flinch he wants. He leans in. Breath sweet and sour. Hospitality has rules. You follow, you keep a job. You don't, you find the door. Simple math. Ava's eyes hold him for a beat. Not a challenge. A mirror. He laughs first. Blink, sweetheart. She blinks once, slow. Then she tilts the tray, offers the nearest guest a refill without looking away from Chase. Pour smooth, no spill. Hand firm. Service flawless. It embarrasses him more than defiance would. Enough, Richard says, not to protect her, but to restore rhythm. Music's flat. Fix it. He gestures past Ava as if she were furniture. Fiona taps her glass with a nail. Smile, she repeats. You're on the clock. Ava's lips don't move. Her face settles into calm the way a lake settles after a thrown stone. Ripples go silent. Chase takes the poured flute, raises it to the crowd. To standards, he announces. To no rolls. Glasses lift. Crystal sings. The toast hangs, cheap and bright. Ava lowers the tray. Her fingers tingle. The cold has crept in. She looks at the strip of damp floor she made clean with her hands. A small field of order in a room that treats order like a toy. Take that, Chase says, pointing to the last drop clinging to the bottle's mouth. She does, she caps it. She sets it down. Every motion is tidy, economical, and unyielding. A woman in pearls leans close to Fiona. She's pretty when she's quiet. Fiona's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Silence is service. Ava breathes once, deep, steady, as if locking something heavy in place inside her chest. The tray lifts to her shoulder. The room returns to its chatter, but the edge remains. She turns, ready to move, the muscles in her forearm taut, the skin of her palms slick and cooling. Behind her, Chase says lightly, See? All she needed was guidance. A few claps. The show is over. The sting isn't. Ava pauses at the threshold of the next cluster of guests. Not a stumble. A measured halt. Her spine aligns. Her breath levels. The taste of metal sits on her tongue. She doesn't look back. She doesn't need to. She knows exactly what was taken and what was revealed. You think my skin is your stage? Ava says it low. To no one and to him. A thin blade hidden in breath. Chase tilts his head, smirk ready to pounce. What was that? She doesn't repeat it. She sets the tray on a side stand, palms stinging, wrists damp, and reaches for fresh linens. Hands move like rules. Fold, stack, replace. Precision is armor. Back to work, Fiona clips. We've indulged enough. Ava lifts the tray again. Weight settles across bone. She steps past Chase. He slides to block, a lazy half step, drink swinging. Say thank you, he says. For the feedback. Her eyes meet his, unblinking. Respect is not feedback, he snorts. Cute. He gestures to a smear on the floor she missed by inches. You forgot a spot. She's already bending. One knee grazes the tile. Sleeve drags. She doesn't let it. Linen down. Quick press, slow drag. Clean line, clean exit. She stands. The room waits for crack, for raised voice, for shattered glass. It gets balanced. Richard clears his throat. Let's not turn this into a scene. It became one when your son made it one, the older gentleman says, voice measured. Let the staff do their jobs without theater. Chase cuts him off with a toast lifted too high. To generosity, he says, teaching moments. Ava turns, tray anchored to shoulder. She faces Fiona. May I speak to the captain? Fiona's smile sharpens. About what? Placement, Ava says. Traffic flow. Handle it, Fiona replies, bored already. Quietly. Ava steps through the murmuring ring. The service corridor swallows the glare, replaces it with clatter and breath. She finds the event captain by the ice bins, eyes tight, radio buzzing. Are you all right? He asks. I'm on schedule, she says. She opens her hands. Red lines mark her palms. She wipes them dry, slips on new gloves, reclaims the tray. Where do you want the top shelf now? Far bar, he says. Avoid the terrace pack. You can swap with Luis if you need a minute. I don't. She pivots back toward the ballroom. A runner brushes past, whispering, He does that every summer. Don't let him. He didn't, she says and keeps moving. At the threshold, Chase is waiting, lounging against the door jamb as if he owns the hinge. Round two? He asks. You learn fast. That's promising. She adjusts the tray by a breath. The stemware sings, then stills. Please move. Say please again. Move. He doesn't. He takes a slow sip, watches her over the rim. He wants a tremor. She gives him a statue. Richard's voice carries from inside. Chase, enough. Chase steps aside half an inch. Not permission, a dare. She passes. Her shoulder grazes the air where his arrogance should have been. She doesn't look back. At the far bar she works. Pour, present, pivot. A woman tries to apologize on behalf of the room without saying a word. Some people forget themselves, the woman offers. Ava sets a glass down, gentle, exact. I remember myself, she answers. That's enough. The woman nods and retreats into her circle. A server knocks a bowl. Ice skitters. Ava catches the slide with one hand while her other keeps the bottle steady. A tiny cheer from behind the bar dies under Chase's laugh across the floor. He's reenacting the spill for a fresh cluster, hands pantomiming, voice pitched for punchlines. Ava's jaw tightens. Teeth press until a pulse beats in her ear. She exhales. The air leaves clean. She scans the room, memorizes the exits, the faces that watched, the few that looked away. The tray lifts, the tray lowers. Rhythm returns, not submission, discipline. Richard approaches the bar. Up close, Power looks tired. My son can be spirited, he says, picking a word like a tie. Ava sets a coaster, centers it. Your son made a choice. He taps the counter, uncomfortable. We appreciate good service. Service is the work, she says. Respect is the minimum. The words land without force, yet everything in him shifts a fraction, as if a picture on a wall has been nudged and can't quite sit straight again. He opens his mouth. Chase appears at his elbow. Are we good? He asks, eyes bright, performance still hot. Richard lets the moment pass. We're fine, he tells his son, and to Ava, carry on. She does. She resets a row of flutes until the line is exact. Her hands no longer shake. The ache in her jaw fades to a clean edge. She steps away from the bar, glides through the room once more, and leaves behind a silence that isn't empty at all. This isn't a circus, Richard. Stop your boy. The older gentleman doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. The words find Richard Whitlock and sit on his chest. Chase laughs it off, already drifting to a fresh audience. The room resumes its glitter, but the sheen has a scratch. Richard sets his glass down. It skids, taps porcelain, leaves a wet ring. His hand hovers over the smear Ava cleaned with her palms. The floor is cold. His cuff brushes the damp and comes away stained with a crescent of fizz. A glint by the baseboard. Small, sharp. He kneels, half gesture, half gravity, and plucks it from the light. A cufflink, heavy, silver. 2 letters carve the face. S.H. He turns it between finger and thumb. The post has a burr. It bites his skin. A bead of red wells, and he wipes it on a cocktail napkin before anyone notices. The initials burn through linen anyway. Sir? A junior PR handler appears like a shadow. Should I speak to the staff? Or take phones? Phones? Richard says. Clips, she answers. 2 guests filmed. I flagged one. The other, already sent to a private chat. Richard's jaw sets. Take care of it. She blinks. How? Figure it out. The older gentleman steps closer. Apologize to the young woman, he says. Do it now. In front of them. Richard slips the cufflink into his pocket. It drags, heavy as a coin you don't want to spend. Enjoy the evening, he says instead, and moves past. At the doorway, he almost collides with the event captain hustling trays. You, Richard says. The server, the one with the braids. The captain straightens. Ava. Right, Ava. Is she still on the floor? She is. Send her to the library, 5 minutes. The captain hesitates. She's in rotation. Break it, Richard snaps, then catches himself. Please. The captain nods and disappears. Across the room, Chase reenacts the spill with pantomime flourish. A few guests don't laugh. One woman lowers her eyes when she meets Richard's. Another murmurs to her husband and sets her glass down untouched. Richard's hand returns to his pocket. He rubs the cufflink like a worrystone. S.H. He knows those letters. Hale favors monograms. Hale hates leaks. Hale will read a headline before the ink is dry. He checks his finger. The cut is sealed. The sting remains. The PR handler reappears. I got 1 clip taken down, she says. The other, no handle. Closed circle. Keep trying, he says, already angling toward the library. He passes the bar. Ava is there for a breath, aligning a neat row of flutes. Her face is calm, not empty. He feels the picture on his wall tilt another inch. Ava, the captain says at her shoulder. Library. She nods once. No hurry, no flinch. She lifts the tray, hands steady, and follows the corridor out of the noise. Richard touches the cufflink again. Cold metal, cut skin, initials that promise trouble. He opens the library door and waits. Apologize to the woman you used as a prop. Richard doesn't turn toward the older gentleman. He opens the library door and fixes his eyes on leather and glass instead of his son's echo. The cufflink in his pocket carves a red half-moon into his palm. S.H. cold, blunt. A knock. The event captain appears with Ava at his shoulder. Richard lifts a hand. You can go. The captain lingers. She's mid-rotation. I'll pay for the minute, Richard says. Ava steps in first. She stops 2 paces from the desk. Tray balanced, gloves clean, eyes level. This won't take long, Richard begins. Good, she says. He gestures at a chair. She doesn't sit. I want to address what happened outside. What you did, she corrects. Not what happened. He exhales through his nose. Yes, what my son did. And what you let stand. Silence things. A PR handler ghosts in the doorway with a tablet pressed to her chest. Give us the room, Richard says. She stays anyway. We have a 9 a.m. signing, Richard. Any perception issues? Out, he snaps, then softens. Please. She leaves a beat too slow. Richard looks at Ava. You were treated poorly. I was degraded, she says. By choice. Yes, he says. The word scrapes. I'm sorry. For the optics, she says. For the conduct, he answers, as if pulling the sentence through barbed wire. And for not stopping it sooner. Ava's jaw flexes. The ache shows as a clean line along her cheek. Why call me here? Because respect is due, he says. Because my home failed to show it. Because I don't want a careless moment to overshadow an important day for my company and... There, she says. Here's the real sentence. He takes it. Both are true. She sets the tray on the desk corner. The stemware doesn't chime. Respect isn't a speech. What would you have me do, he asks. Start with your son. He'll apologize. Because you told him. Because it's right, he says. And here's how thin it rings. You want a script. I don't give scripts, she says. I give boundaries. Name them. Not here. He blinks. Why not? Because this isn't about a library whisper, she says. It's about what your guests saw you tolerate. His phone vibrates. A message from Hale. 3 lines, all urgency. He silences it. I'll make a statement, he says. Tonight. Don't perform to clean a stain, she says. Change the hand that made it. He steps closer, then stops, surprised by his own caution. You're asking me to discipline my son in my own house. I'm asking you to set the floor for humans, she says. You choose the rest? He swallows, the cufflink bites again. What about you? Are you... He searches for a word that isn't his. Is it safe to finish your shift? I'm working, she says. That's safe. I can have the captain move you off the floor if you want to avoid... I don't avoid work, she says. I do it well. He nods once. Respect pries a small space open in his chest. If there's anything further... There will be, she says. When? When you decide you want respect, not quiet, she says. You'll know where to find me. He almost asks where. She has already told him without telling him. On the floor, with the people who make the room run. He reaches for something, anything, and finds money, which feels cheap the second it touches the air. This isn't a tip, he says, producing an envelope. It's an acknowledgement. She doesn't look at it. Keep it. A donation, then, to your team. My team wants a path to do their jobs without humiliation, she says. Your money can wait. Footsteps in the hall. Chase's laugh scratches at the threshold. Ava picks up the tray. Her gloves crease. Her eyes stay steady. I'm due back. Richard steps aside. Ava. He stops using her name like a lever. He tries it with a hand extended. Thank you for holding the line. She turns for the door. Hold yours. She leaves. The library swallows the click behind her. Richard takes out the cufflink. SH presses a fresh cut into his thumb. He can hear Hale's voice without the phone. No distractions, no noise. Sign in the morning. He looks at the closed door and understands it isn't the noise that will cost him. It's the choice. Hands okay? Ava peels off gloves in the prep kitchen. Red grooves score her palms. She runs water, winces, keeps them under until the sting quiets. I'm fine, she says. What's next? Her sister Tony types orders and ties ribbon. Breakfast drop at Midtown. Then the shelter. You sure you don't want to crash? Ava pulls a crate closer. Stack, label, go. They move fast, tape rips, lids snap. Tony watches her hands. He touched a nerve. He touched a line, Ava says. It holds. At dawn, they load the van. Traffic hisses. A porter yawns and waves them into the bay. Ava shoulders a case, keeps the weight close, makes the elevator before it shuts. Floor 32, glass, abstract art. A receptionist straightens. Conference set. 15 minutes, Ava says. We'll be quiet ghosts. They lay out coffee, fruit, neat rows of croissants. Ava adjusts sightlines so servers won't be trapped, so guests won't corner anyone with a smile that bites. A junior admin edges near with a bruised voice. If anyone gives you trouble, call me, Ava says, sliding a card across the linen. No logo, just a number. What is this? A way out. The admin tucks it under her badge. Thank you. Ava's phone buzzes. A photo of the cufflink cupped in Richard's palm, taken from a corner like a confession. No text. She saves it. She checks the time, then the shelter address. The van rattles south. The shelter smells like soap and stubborn hope. Ms. D harangues a broken coffee maker. It hates me, she says. It needs purpose, Ava answers, flips a valve and coaxes a steady drip. Ms. D snorts. You're hired. Ava coaches a teen on slicing without fear. Blade down, knuckles in, breathe. The kid copies, hands shaking, then steadies. A breakfast tray forms, eggs, toast, fruit, dignity. Tony leans against the doorway. We could use you full-time. You do, Ava says. Just not on payroll. A volunteer burns her hand. Ava pulls her to the sink, cools the skin, wraps it. Back in 10, she says. The woman nods, eyes wet but unbroken. Ava texts a number labeled Maya. Need 5 minutes later. Urgent. Reply, always. She pockets the phone and gathers her hair into a clean knot. The knot is armor. The apron is armor. The voice is steady because it has to be. Tony nudges her. Tonight got to you. It reminded me, Ava says. Of what? Why do boundaries matter, she says. And what to do when they break. Your apology can't be private. The service hall hums with haste. Richard meets Ava between swinging doors. Tie loosened, certainty cracked. Chase lingers in the corridor, pretending to scroll. I'll say the words, Richard starts. Tell them where you shamed me, Ava replies. Out there. Chase cuts in. We're still milking this. Ava doesn't look at him. 3 conditions, she tells Richard. 1, you apologize to every server in this house by name. 2, a written policy tonight. No guest humiliates staff, no exceptions. 3, tomorrow's signing pauses until I see proof the policy is enforced. Chase barks a laugh. She thinks she can set terms. She just did, Richard says, surprising himself with the weight in his voice. I accept. Then do it, Ava says. They step into the ballroom. Music falters. Richard raises a hand. We disrespected a member of our staff, he says, voice steady. That's on me. I apologize to Ava and to every person working this event. It will not happen again. Silence grips the room. An older woman nods. 2 men set down their phones. Chase stiffens, smile gone brittle. Names, Ava reminds. Richard turns to the line at the far wall. Luis, Carmen, Noel, Jen, Marcus. He keeps going. Their faces lift, one by one, shock softening towards something like relief. Chase clicks his tongue. Dad? Stop, Richard says, and the word lands like a door shutting. A PR handler edges forward with a slim black folder. Sir, your remarks for tomorrow. Term sheet A, she whispers, slipping it toward Richard. A second folder rides underneath, unlabeled. Something small slides from its pocket and taps Ava's shoe. She picks it up. A matte USB, no logo. The handler flushes. That's not for the floor. Then don't drop it, Ava says. She hands the USB back, but her fingers have already felt the scuffed edge, the tape notch in one corner, marked with a single initial in ink. H. Richard clocks it. His jaw tightens. Which sheet is that? Backup materials, the handler says too fast. Ava holds his gaze. Condition 4, she says. You will read every line before you sign anything. I will, Richard says. Good, Ava answers. Because whatever's on that drive belongs in daylight. Chase scoffs. You don't get a vote. Ava lifts the tray to her shoulder. Respect isn't a vote, she says. It's a policy. She moves on, but the hallway door creaks again. The handler is already texting, fingers frantic. The USB disappears into her blazer like a secret trying to hide. Delay the safety upgrade. Optics or noise. The merger is a signal. The voice slices through speakerphone static. Spencer Hale doesn't wait for agreement. He issues it. Richard stands at the window of his midtown office. The morning city stacked beneath him like inventory. The SH cufflink presses his pocket. A pebble in a shoe he can't remove. Our council flagged worker complaints, Richard says. They're gaining traction. Employees complain, Hale replies. Shareholders invest. Pick your priority. I'm not ignoring injuries. You're managing a transaction, Hale counters. Sign at 9, announce at noon, drown chatter by close. News cycles obey scale. Richard's jaw ticks. There was an incident last night. Then stop inviting chaos, Hale says. Lock down the staff, replace vendors, post a gratitude statement, keep it bland. An apology is already never apologize, Hale snaps. Acknowledgement. 2 lines, no verbs that bite. A soft knock. The PR handler edges in, places a folder on the desk. Term sheet A. Unlabeled twin beneath. Richard doesn't touch either. Hale keeps going. I need signatures on A. B is a dead file. We're not funding maintenance until synergy's clear. Synergies, Richard repeats, tasting metal. Consolidation, Hale translates. 1 plant, 1 system, 1 budget. After closing. People are working today. Then they can wait 2 weeks like adults. Richard's eyes fall to the cufflink bite on his thumb. Send me the risk assessment. You have the summary. I want detail. You're nervous, Hale says, amusement slipping in. Take a walk. Touch a tree. Then sign. Don't patronize me. Then don't hesitate, Hale fires back. Hesitation reads weakness. The line goes quiet long enough to force a choice. Richard doesn't fill it. Hale fills it for him. Media exposure? Minimal, the PR handler says, leaning toward the mic. 1 clip scrubbed, another contained. Contained isn't dead, Hale says. Kill it. Increase NDAs. And don't let last night's entertainment leak into today's work. Richard stiffens. Entertainment? Every party wants a story, Hale says. Yours ended. Move on. The word scrapes like gravel. Richard covers the speaker and looks at the handler. Where's the drive? She blinks. What drive? The one you dropped, he says, voice flat. I secured it. Bring it, he says. She leaves fast. Hale resumes. I'll be in the boardroom at 1:45. We sign. We smile. We measure twice and cut payroll once. We're cutting waste, Richard says, testing him. We're cutting friction, Hale corrects. Same outcome, better narrative. A second knock. The handler returns with the USB, eyes lowered. Richard pockets it without ceremony. Hale hears the movement. What was that? Nothing you need to manage, Richard says. Everything is mine to manage, Hale answers, until ink dries. A chime on Richard's phone, a text from an unknown number. Respect is the minimum. Read everything. No name, no logo. Just the sentence he doesn't want to forget. He knows whose voice it matches. Hale's tone cools. I expect decisiveness, Richard. Sentiment burns money. So does negligence, Richard says. Alleged negligence, Hale corrects, and not ours once we absorb them. Focus. Silence again, heavier now. Hale ends it. Grow a spine, sign A and delete B. I'll see you at 9. The call clicks out. The office holds its breath. Richard opens the unlabeled folder. Term sheet B stares up, clauses tucked like blades. Deferred safety retrofit, temporary labor expansion, discipline protocols that read like traps. He doesn't look away. In the outer corridor, Ava passes with a catering crate for a different floor. Eyes forward, pace even. She doesn't see him. He sees her. The memory of last night stands between them like glass. He closes the folder. The cufflink digs deeper. The USB burns cold against his palm. For the first time all morning, the path of least resistance looks like a cliff. Playtime's over. We pull the thread. Maya slides the USB into her laptop. Ava stands behind her shoulder, arms folded, jaw set. A folder tree blooms on the screen. Internal, finance. Plant, NJ, safety. No passwords, just arrogance. Start with emails, Ava says. Maya scrolls. Subject lines sting, retrofit deferral, union containment, cost shield. She opens a chain between Spencer Hale and an ops director. Hale, defer non-critical safety retrofits pending close. Priority, EBITDA optics. Reply, kill switch backlog noted. Will pad maintenance logs. Another message from legal. Pre-close incidents remain predecessor liability. Hale, exactly, keep quiet. We inherit cleanliness. Ava breathes out slowly. Timestamps? 2 weeks old, Maya says. Fresh. She opens a spreadsheet, tabs for injuries, parts, dates. Rows glow with edits. Line after line reads resolved. But the notes field carries a different story. Temporary bypass. Supervisor override. Repeat complaint. A column labeled savings tracks dollars saved by not fixing what should have been fixed. We need more than spreadsheets, Ava says. We need eyes. Maya clicks a folder marked video. Thumbnails line up. She opens one. A conveyor belt jerks, a worker stumbles, hits an emergency cord that does nothing. Another worker sprints and slams a wall switch. The belt stops too late. The screen holds on a hand gone wrong. Ava's teeth clamp until a throb blooms at her temple. Next, a montage. Alarms taped over, warning lights dim, memos printed and ignored. In one clip, a manager pockets a lockout tag. In another, a shift lead waves a camera away. Maya pauses. We'll need a chain of custody. We'll build it, Ava says. Who put this together? A file named notes.txi sits in the root. Maya opens it. A few lines, careful, plain. Saving these because somebody has to. Tag, H. If found, send it to someone who won't look away. Ava hears the handler's whisper. Backup materials. Her stomach tightens. We found them, she says. Today. They move. The elevator spits them into the lobby. Ava calls Alvarez. He answers on the second ring. Senora, he says, voice low, you shouldn't be using this line. I'm not asking permission, Ava says. Last night you warned me. I'm listening. A beat. Then, Hale keeps people scared. He keeps his hands clean by making others dirty. The drive came from a contractor who sees too much. Name? I don't give names on phones, Alvarez says, but there's a diner near the river. Noon. Back booth. Ask for black coffee. No room. Done. They hang up. Maya's already drafting a list. Who to call, what to secure, which files to mirror. She slides the USB into an encrypted vault and wipes prints with a sleeve. Bring backup, Maya says. I have mine, Ava answers. It's called a spine. They hit the diner at noon. For Micah, coffee that fights back. A man in a plant jacket sits alone, hands wrapped in gauze. He watches the door, then watches the table. You Ava? He asks. Yes, she says. He slides a second USB across the table. In case the first disappears. Who are you? Somebody who still wants his fingers, he says, eyes cutting to the bandage. They shut us up with overtime and threats. Hale's people count injuries like rounding errors. Why now, Maya asks. Because it'll be worse after the merger, he says. Cuts mean speed. Speed means blood. Ava doesn't promise miracles. She promises action. We'll take this public if we have to. Until then, we lock proof. He nods. There's one more thing. The kill switch vendor offered emergency service. Hale's office told procurement to stall, then blame parts. Maya types. Do you have the email? Printed. He taps his jacket. Old school. Good, Ava says. Paper makes liars sweat. They leave with files and a number. Outside, her phone buzzes. A text from Richard. Meeting moved up. 9 sharp. A second text follows, unsent, then sent again. I read B. Ava pockets the phone. We move faster, she says. Maya grabs a cab. Where? Back to the plant, Ava says. If Hale wants shadows, we bring light. She dials the press liaison, then deletes the draft. Not yet. Evidence first, reveals second with witnesses. Stop pretending it's a paperwork quirk, Maya says. They sit with Richard in a glassed-in conference nook, door cracked. He sets the USB on the table like a confession. Ava spreads printouts, emails, spreadsheets, stills from video. Each sheet lands like a gavel. Read this line, Ava says. Pre-close incidents remain predecessor liability. I saw it, Richard answers. Now this line, Maya adds. Defer kill switch retrofits until post-close consolidation. Savings booked this quarter. Richard's throat tightens. Hale wrote that. He wrote more, Ava says. He gave procurement a script. Stall, blame parts, discipline complainers. Maya flips to a ledger slice. Community Outreach Fund, 3 entries in 1 month. Exact figures match hush payments in HR notes. One name is blacked out, but the timestamp overlaps a crushed hand report. Richard rubs the cufflink in his pocket until the edges bite. Was anyone killed? Ava meets his eyes. A subcontractor collapsed after a jam. The report calls it non-work medical. The camera shows a belt chewing fabric while the emergency cord does nothing. The supervisor pulled the plug at the wall. Too late. The room holds a thin, hard silence. Maya slides another page across. Hale also drafted a sacrificial memo. If this surfaces, he pins it on the plant manager for unauthorized maintenance improvisations. The signatures box is blank, waiting for panic. Richard's voice lowers. He'll say I knew. He'll make sure you do, Ava says, unless you stop him now. He looks at the door. Outside, Chase laughs down the hall with 2 directors, loud and easy. The sound grates. Who gave you the drive? Richard asks. A worker who wants his fingers, Ava says. He made a second copy because he assumes you'll lose the first. Richard exhales. Hale kept me clean by keeping me blind. He kept you useful, Maya says. Clean is a story. Ava taps the folder labeled Term Sheet B. This isn't an accident, it's design. Safety is a budget line. Pain is a rounding tool. The merger is a rug. Richard squares the pages. Hands steady, voice not. If I cancel, the street punishes us. If you sign, the truth punishes everyone else, Ava says, and it still finds you. He looks from the USB to Ava. You're not staff with a tray. No, she says, I'm the person who won't look away. Chase's laugh fades. The door stays cracked. Richard closes it. Locks click softly. He pockets the cufflink, sets the drive between them, and meets her gaze, choosing consequence over comfort now. Get the maid out of my building. Spencer Hale barks it before the elevator doors finish opening. 2 guards move. Ava stays inside the car, spine straight. Touch me, Maya says, and I'll file assault before the door shuts. Hale smiles. You're not counsel of record. I'm oxygen, Maya replies. Try breathing without me. A guard blocks the doors. Ava slips her foot to the threshold. The sensor holds. We're returning property, she says, and lifts a clear bag with a USB. Your drive. My assistant will take it, Hale says. No, Ava answers. You will, after you sign a receipt. He laughs. This isn't evidence. Then you won't mind the paperwork. Bring them, he orders. The guards reach. Ava angles the bag to the ceiling camera. Smile. The hands pause. Hale's jaw tightens. Fine, he signs. You think theater scares me? Theater is your lane, Ava says. Mine is the truth. Truth is whatever I file. Then file this. She passes a still frame. A hand inches from ruin. A dead kill switch. We have a video. Tragic, he says, bored. Irrelevant to a merger. It's relevant when you scripted the delay. Allegedly, he says. Now leave. Maya's phone buzzes. Upload complete. Hale's smile thins. You broke into our servers. We opened a door someone else held, Ava says. Your someone is unemployed by noon, he answers, and you're finished. Finished people don't have 9 a.m. signatures, Maya says. Hale glances at Richard's office. Mr. Whitlock and I are aligned. Don't mistake a wobble for a fall. A wobble reveals where the weight is, Ava says, stepping out at last. He moves to block. Turn around. Move! He lowers his voice. You will be sued until your grandchildren forget your name. You will be quoted out of context, called unstable, called a liar, called a maid, she says, letting it land. Call me what you need to feel tall. His eyes harden. Call you gone. Alvarez rolls a mail cart to the corner and bumps a doorstop. The stairwell swings wide. Lobby's that way, he tells the guards, pointing past it. Take them, Hale says. Ava turns as if complying, then pivots into the stairwell with Maya on her heels. The door thuds. Boots pound after. Alvarez jams the cart against the handle. The latch grabs. Alarms stay silent. 2 flights down, a service corridor. A third guard waits. Stop. Maya lifts her hands. We're leaving. Hands on the wall. Ava's phone buzzes. Basement garage. North gate. She flattens her palms. Skin stings where last night left lines. The guard pats for weapons, finds none, finds only the hum of a plan. He waves them through. Concrete, exhaust, echo, a sedan idles. You called a ride? Maya asks. A witness, Ava says. The plant contractor from the diner leans from the back seat, bandaging fresh. He hands a manila envelope to Ava. Paper trail, he says. Purchase orders, vendor emails. A handwritten note, per SH, hold. This nails directive, Maya says, riffling pages. Headlights wash over them. A black SUV noses in. Hale steps out alone. Give me my documents, he says. They're ours, Ava answers. You wrote them with other people's blood. Last offer, leave. I might forget your names. Remember mine, she says. Ava Brooks. The name hits him like a file he should have read. He flinches, then hardens. I don't care who you serve. I serve principle, she says. You serve profit. Profit keeps principle employed. Not when profit kills. He reaches for the envelope. Maya steps between. The SUV inches forward, a steel nudge. The engine revs. Ava doesn't retreat. She lifts her phone toward the gate camera. The red light blinks. This scene is archived in 3 places, she says. Choose your next word carefully. Hale's mouth flattens. He jerks his chin at the driver. The engine calms. He steps back again. We're done here, he says. No, Ava says. We're in motion. They slide into the sedan. The contractor fades into shadow. The car pulls out. Hale's SUV doesn't follow. He stands with his hands clenched, rage useless under lens. Behind tinted glass, Ava exhales. Her jaw eases. Not soft, just set for the next climb. Sign your own order to stall safety, Spencer. Ava says it as the sedan cuts to a notary near the river. Maya checks time, folder, recorder. Alvarez meets them with a single-page printout clutched like oxygen. Chain of custody, he says. Your receipt, his signature. Hale's angry pen scratch sits above the line. Received, external storage device. The timestamp is 9 minutes after he mocked them. A building security logo crowns the page. 1 link, Maya says. We need 3. They climb. The handler who dropped the drive waits in a narrow lobby, blazer buttoned, eyes sleepless. I won't go to prison for him, she says, voice thin but true. He dictated the memo. I typed. He emailed procurement from my terminal to dodge an audit. Say it clean, Maya instructs. The recorder clicks. Names, dates, the phrase per SH, hold. She signs an affidavit. The notary stamps. Ink thuds like a gavel. 2, Ava counts. The handler hands over her phone. There's a voicemail from the vendor rep. He recorded Hale. She hits play. Hale's controlled impatience fills the room. Delay, Bill after close. Avoid triggering headlines. The last line lands. If an emergency occurs, isolate and bury. Maya's jaw hardens. Copy that. They step into the hall. A maintenance man nods toward a door marked electrical. Camera feed runs through here, he says. Union shop. We don't like liars. Inside, cables hum. He pulls a capped drive from a locker. Dock footage, garage level, 7:42 a.m. You'll want the SUV. The video shows Hale's vehicle boxing Ava's sedan, his approach, his reach, his retreat when she lifts her phone to the gate camera. The maintenance man slides over a certification slip. Pulled by me, signed, badge number here. 3, Maya breathes. 4, Ava says, lifting the contractor's envelope. Vendor's emergency offer, procurement reply. Per SH, hold. Hale's initials in ink match to the monogram cufflink bagged and labeled. Maya spreads the set across the floor. Receipt with signature, affidavit with notary seal, voicemail file with metadata, security footage with certification, vendor offer with Hale's ink, procurement trail tied to his login via the handler's sworn statement. It's proof built to stand. Each item answers a lie and anchors the next in place. Beyond dispute now. Ava adds one more piece, a short letter on Brooks Foundation letterhead, printed and unsigned. Conditions for ethical capital, it reads, safety before synergy, people before profit, dignity without permission. Now we walk, Maya says. They move toward Midtown. Richard calls, his voice carries gravel. Are you coming? We're bringing daylight, Ava answers. Have your board in the room and your son nowhere near the mic. He won't like that. He'll survive liking other things, she says, and ends the call. Elevator up, hallway wide. The conference doors rise ahead like a verdict. Maya checks the recorder one last time. The red light holds steady. Alvarez stops at the threshold. I'm not on your payroll, he says, but I'm in this. You're in the thank you line, Ava says. Back row, witness. She shoulders the folder, knocks once, and pushes the door open. The board turns. Hale flicks an icy smile, then freezes when he sees Alvarez, the handler, the contractor, the notary stamp glinting like a badge. Good morning, Ava says. We brought receipts. Seat him, Spencer. He doesn't talk over me. Ava drops the folder at the head of the table and refuses a chair. Hale half rises. She points to the empty seat opposite Richard. He sits because eyes are on him. Who is she? A director asks. Ava Brooks, Hale says. Event staff. Managing trustee, Ava replies. Lead on the capital your board expects. We're here for facts. Silence draws tight. Richard holds her gaze. Receipt, Maya says, sliding a signed chain of custody. You took back your drive at 8:13. Hale glances and shrugs. And? Affidavit, Maya continues, placing a notary stamped statement. Your assistant confirms you dictated the stall memo and sent procurement emails from her terminal. She's lying. She signed under penalty, Maya answers. Voicemail, Ava says. Speakerphone clicks. Hale's recorded voice fills the room. Delay, bill after close. Avoid triggering headlines. If an emergency occurs, isolate and bury. Deep fake, he says. Security footage, Maya counters. A screen shows Hale's SUV pinning the garage exit, his reach, his retreat when Ava lifts her phone toward the gate camera. Certification follows. Contactless. Vendor offer, Ava says. Emergency service decline. Procurement reply, per SH, hold. Hale's initials in ink. She sets the page beside a bagged cuff link engraved SH. You left your mark everywhere, including on the floor where you humiliated me. A director clears her throat. Mr. Hale? Hale spreads his hands. Theater, a disgruntled contractor, a frightened assistant, and a server angling for leverage. Our duty is shareholder value. The retrofit waits 2 weeks. A hand couldn't, Ava says. Alleged, he snaps. Richard speaks at last. Is any of this false? Hale doesn't blink. It's selective. He invited an outsider to sabotage a merger. I invited a stakeholder, Richard says. Hale pivots to the board. Sign term sheet A. We will fix the chatter later. Maya slides term sheet B across the leather. Read your hidden blades, she says. Deferred safety, labor squeeze, disciplinary traps. Ava steadies her voice. My capital won't underwrite cruelty. Terms, implement the retrofit now, adopt a dignity policy, appoint an independent monitor, and pause signing until compliance is verified. Hale barks a laugh. She thinks she can hold 1 billion hostage. It isn't hostage to require the floor for humans, Ava says. It's admission. A silver-haired director leans in. If we refuse, then you sign alone, Ava says, and you carry what comes. Hale rises. Remove her. Sit, Richard orders. Voice finally weighted. No one moves. Hale stares. You're jeopardizing everything. I'm choosing something, Richard says. For once. Ava places still frames of the dead kill switch in front of each director. Fingers hover above paper. The room goes blade quiet. Your move, Mr. Whitlock, Hale says. Or your fall. Richard looks at the board. We pause the signing. Hale explodes. Coward. Careful, Ava says. The cameras in this building live forever. Hale swallows whatever comes next. Richard continues. We implemented the retrofit today. We adopt the dignity policy she outlined. We retain an independent monitor. Council is notified. Hale shakes his head. You invite lawsuits. You invited a catastrophe, Ava answers. We decline. He points at her. You don't run this company. I decide where the money goes, she says. Today it goes where people aren't crushed. A director exhales. Another nods. A third closes his eyes as if stepping from glare into shade. Vote, Richard says. Hands rise. Enough. Hale's chair scrapes. This isn't over. It is for you, Ava says. For the plant workers, it starts now. He snatches up papers. The cufflink glints, then disappears into his fist. Ava closes the folder. 9 o'clock was for ink, she says. 9 o'clock is now for action. She turns for the door. The board watches her leave like someone who handed them a mirror. Richard doesn't stop her. In the hallway, Maya matches her stride. That line about where the money goes? It's a promise, Ava says. Tomorrow we will make it public. Across the glass, phones vibrate. Outside, elevators hum, indifferent. Ava's jaw unclenches, then sets again. The day bends, not breaks. She heads for the press, the plant, the people who deserve better from management. Power that feeds on humiliation ends now. Ava steps to the podium. Cameras blink. Workers line the back wall in plant jackets, bandages, stubborn eyes. Richard stands 1 pace off her shoulder, hands open, chin level. Hale is absent. His seat on the dais sits like an accusation. My name is Ava Brooks, she says, voice even. We are canceling the billion-dollar deal. The room inhales, flash, murmur. A reporter lifts a hand. On what grounds? On human grounds, Ava answers. On legal grounds. On moral grounds. She nods to Maya. A stack of packets lands in press hands. You'll find a timeline, emails, vendor offers, a notary-stamped affidavit, and security footage certification. You'll also find a policy we're enacting today. Richard clears his throat. The retrofit begins within the hour, he says. The dignity policy is signed. An independent monitor starts now. Mr. Hale is suspended. Indefinitely, Ava adds. A hand shoots up. Shareholder backlash? Richard answers it cleanly. We face it. Another question. Are you admitting liability for injuries at the New Jersey plant? Ava doesn't blink. We are admitting reality. We are cooperating with regulators. We are paying medical bills and wages for affected workers starting today. A low sound moves through the jackets at the back, something like breath finally reaching lungs. 2 agents from the state AG's office step in with a labor inspector. Maya meets them halfway, hands them copies, signs acknowledgments. Where is Mr. Hale? Another reporter asks. Unavailable, Richard says. The word lands like a lid. His counsel will speak for him. Maya leans into the mic. We've preserved digital evidence in multiple locations and delivered it to authorities. Chain of custody is intact. Ava gestures to the back. Luis. He steps forward, palms chapped, voice steady. My crew has run lines with taped alarms for months. Today the tape comes off. A second worker lifts a gauzed hand. They made us sign papers we couldn't read fast enough. Today someone reads to us first. The press scribbles. A commotion by the door. Hale arrives with two lawyers, face pale with fury, iced over. He stops when he sees the monitors streaming his garage confrontation, the audio waveform of his voicemail, the image of his initials matched to procurement's ink. "This is defamation," one lawyer announces. Ava steps from the podium and sets a copy of the affidavit on the table in front of him. "Sign here if you'd like to call your assistant a liar under oath." The lawyer's mouth shuts. Hale reaches for the paper, thinks better, withdraws his hand as if the page burns. "You weaponized a party," he says. "Now you weaponize pity." Ava meets him without heat. "I weaponize standards." "You killed a merger," he spits. "I killed a cover," she replies. Richard faces Hale. "You're suspended pending investigation for cause. Your access is revoked. Security will escort you out." Two guards approach. Hale stiffens. "You," he says to Ava, voice lowering to a knife. "You will regret crossing me." "Not today," she says. "Today I walk with people you tried to bury." He turns to the microphones. "Shareholders will sue." Ava returns to the mic. "They can read the packets like everyone else. If profit requires silence about harm, your model is broken. Fix the model." A silver-haired board member steps up. "For the record, the vote to pause and reform stands." A reporter yells, "Who funds these reforms if the deal is dead?" Ava sets a slim letter on the podium. "The Brooks Foundation will fund immediate safety upgrades through a bridge facility. Payment is contingent on compliance milestones and worker oversight. Independent auditors will certify progress quarterly. Miss a milestone, money stops." Richard nods once. "Accepted." "Last question," a voice calls. "Why take this on?" Ava looks to the back. Tony, Ms. D, the contractor with his bandage. Alvarez with his cart hands posture turning into a witness's spine. "Because respect is the minimum," she says. "Because the floor is human. Because I remember what happened when a room demanded I kneel to clean up their spill." She pauses. The room leans in. "I don't kneel to power," she says. "Power kneels to principle. Workers deserve safety without begging for it. Money follows standards, not the other way around." Remember that. Maya closes the packets with a final stamp. The labor inspector signs a start order. Richard steps away from the podium and offers a hand to the worker with the gauze. He takes it. Cameras flash. Ava lifts the mic one last time. "Retrofit begins now. Checks go out now. The deal is canceled. If you have a complaint, bring it. If you have the truth, bring it faster." She steps down. The jackets at the back straighten like a row finding its bones. Outside the doors, the hallway fills with calls and footsteps, and the sound of something heavy being set back where it always belonged. Not above people, but under them. Don't buy absolution. Build it. Ava says it in the boardroom at sunrise. Richard stands. "We start today." "Then prove it," she replies. He sends one line to every manager. "Safety retrofits begin now. Paid before bonuses." Replies ping. Vendors mobilize, trucks roll. At the plant, tape comes off alarms. Panels open. New kill switch housings rise. Luis watches a foreman sign lockout protocols. "Sign your name," Ava tells him. He does. Richard arrives with the monitor, a former OSHA chief. "We install, test, document," she says. "If I smell theater, I shut the line." "No theater," Ava answers. A lawyer mutters about exposure. The monitor cuts him off. "Exposure is spilled blood." Payroll issues emergency checks. Back pay, medical, overtime. A woman with a wrist brace stares at the numbers. "They won't vanish," Ava says. "Cash them. Heal." News crowds the gate. Ava gives 2 minutes. Retrofit is underway. Inspections are public. Worker names stay private. She walks. Inside, managers learn to listen. A town hall starts with one rule. Staff speaks first. A welder lifts a scarred hand. "Stop punishing safety stops." The policy flashes, no retaliation. Grease-stained applause answers. Richard stands in back and takes notes. He circles bathroom breaks and hands HR a page. Fix. In Midtown, the Brooks Foundation opens a war room. Maya sets a calendar. 30, 60, 90 days. Milestones release money, she says. Miss one, funds freeze. An auditor brings a live dashboard. Repairs closed, injuries reported, stops logged, overtime paid, training completed. Ava approves a scholarship for the injured subcontractor. Not his trauma, she says, his recovery. A second fund seeds childcare near the plant. Miss D howls over the phone. Parents have been waiting. Vendors arrive with parts and attitude. One rep shrugs. Fast track costs extra. Ava doesn't blink. Fast track because a hand was crushed. Bill standard. He nods. Richard meets union reps who expect to fight and get a chair. We build oversight together, he says. Half worker seats, one monitor, one HR, one outside voice. Alvarez raises his hand. Pick someone who mops floors. Ava smiles. Nominated. A company-wide email lands. Dignity is policy. Violations end careers. Attached training teaches managers to say please and thank you like torque specs. It assigns responsibility and tracks completion. Failure triggers discipline. Afternoon. Ava tours the line with a teenage apprentice from the shelter who keeps touching the new red paddle. Hit it, she says. He slaps a stop. The belt halts clean. Siren chirps, not screams. He grins. In HR, old NDAs are scanned and tagged. This one gagged injury reports, Maya says. Release and notify. Letters go out. Relief arrives. Evening. The monitor records. Lines A and B installed. Tested 5 cycles. Tomorrow C and D, no improvisations. Revenue hands fidget. Ava ignores them. Richard steps beside her. I can't undo last night. No, she says, but you can outnumber it. He looks at workers heading out, less hunted. Does this count? It begins to, she says. I told investors we'll miss targets, he says. They can read the why, she answers. If they can't, they can leave. Some will. Good. Make room for adults. Phones light with takes. She reads only the checklist. Audits done. Locks applied. Stops honored. Workers paid. Parents called. Apprentices scheduled. Tony texts a photo from the shelter. Kids under a banner. Safe hands. Steady jobs. Ms. D adds, your coffee maker lives. Ava promises more trays and trainers. Night. The plant hums at a slower, safer pitch. A board member walks the floor in borrowed steel toes. He watches a veteran press, stop, and start paddling until the motion looks like breathing. He whispers, this will cost millions. Richard whispers back, it will save lives. Ava stands under the red paddle and rests her palm on it. Cool metal. Immediate response. She says nothing. It answers by existing. She heads for the exit with a list still long. Behind her, a line worker calls, thank you. Do it for the next person, she says, and keeps moving toward the next room that needs a floor set for humans. Next morning, a hotline goes live above every clock in. Report without fear, answer within 1 hour. Calls flood, patterns form. A supervisor who corners new hires is removed by noon. 2 temp agencies, skimming wages, are blacklisted by 3. Ava sends a covenant to every supplier. Same safety rules, same dignity policy, same audits. If you want our business, she tells a vendor, earn it in daylight. 2 vendors balk and vanish. 5 ask for a playbook. She meets a community college dean in a break room. We'll build a certificate, he says. Maintenance, safety leadership, line tech. The apprentice from the shelter listens like someone hearing his name. I can do that, he says. You will, Ava answers. At dusk, Richard records a message to shareholders. We will be slower, he says. We will be safer. If your thesis can't hold the truth, find a company you deserve. He sends it without asking PR to sand it. Respect isn't charity, it's the floor. Ava says it to the apprentice as he checks the red paddle. He presses. The line stops clean. He grins. Alvarez signs the checklist and shuts the binder. Across town, Tony arranges trays under a banner. Safe hands, steady jobs. Ms. D drags chairs into rows. I need the ache, she says, then laughs when Ava takes the last stack anyway. Richard arrives with a box of paper cups. He pours coffee. A worker hesitates, then takes one and nods. Richard nods back without asking for absolution. Chase appears in the doorway, tie off, eyes raw. Tony stiffens. Ms. D watches. The room tightens. I came to say it, he says. Not because PR told me, because I heard myself and hated the voice. He faces Ava. I'm sorry. Ava studies him. What changes tomorrow because you said that? I start at the plant, he says. On the floor. No title. 30 days. 60, she says. 60, he echoes. And when someone stops a line, you thank them. I will. Then go earn the words, she says, stepping aside. He slips into a seat near the back. The contractor with the bandaged hand takes the mic. I told my daughter I almost lost these, he says, lifting his fingers. Today she saw me stop a belt and start it again. She slept. Applause swells solid. The apprentice holds up his certificate from the community college. He plants his feet and owns the paper. Alvarez wipes his brow with a grin of a man who moved a boulder. Reporters hover at the edge. Ava gives them moments, not minutes. Upgrades installed, monitors in place, policy enforced, pay restored, complaints answered within an hour, she says. That's the story. Will you revisit the deal? A reporter asks. No, she says. We invest in companies that invest in people. The rest can watch us pass. A boy wanders to the podium and stares at the mic. Ava crouches. Want to test it? He nods. She lifts him. He whispers, thank you for fixing the button. The room softens. Richard steps forward with a folded sheet. He unfolds it and reads, voice steady. I failed to stop the cruelty in my house. I will not fail again in my company. To those hurt under our watch, your bills are paid, your jobs protected, your voice permanent. To those who work here, when you raise a concern, that is leadership. He lowers the page. No defense. No excuses at all. None. Ava sets a small plaque beside the mic. Respect is the minimum. The letters catch light like a line. Keep this where it can't be misplaced, she says. After the event, she walks the plant one last time. Kill switches gleam. Paddles hum when tapped. Break rooms hold water, soap, and quiet. The hotline number sits above the clock in a type no one can pretend to miss. Chase appears at the far end with a broom and a nervous joke he swallows. He starts sweeping. A mechanic watches, then shows him how to hold the handle without wrecking his back. Chase listens. The broom moves like penance. Outside, the air smells like metal and coffee and relief. Tony links her arm through Ava's. Tonight we sleep? Tonight we plan, Ava says. Of course we do, Tony grins. Maya joins them with a folder of signatures and stamps. You bought us time, she says. Use it. We will, Ava says. A reporter calls one last question. What's the lesson? Ava faces the camera. Don't mistake uniforms for worth, she says. Don't confuse money with merit. If power forgets its purpose, take it back and hand it to the people who make the room work. She looks past the lens to workers filing out in pairs, to Ms. D arguing with a table, to Alvarez locking the gate like a promise kept, to Richard picking up stray cups without ceremony, to Chase sweeping a floor he once ordered others to crawl on. Respect is the minimum, she repeats, and once you set the floor, you get to build.